Hey guys, how's it going? Jay here. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking about adding stuff to your system. Now, it's holiday season, and despite this year being a little bit hard on everyone's a little bit cheerful and upgrading. I mean, we have a Patreon chat, right? So my patrons are always talking about upgrading, adding stuff to their stuff. I get emails from everyone, lots of emails asking, what should they upgrade to? What should their next step be? And stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I have nothing against upgrading your existing components, the main components. So this means stuff like speakers, DACs, streamers, amplifiers, preamplifiers if you have one. And this to me is good. You can upgrade your existing components if you're unhappy or you're looking for a higher performance than what you already have, and you've done your research. And this is the most important part, doing your research, right? And so if you've done your research and you're upgrading your existing component that you found to be the weak link in your system, then that is perfectly fine. That's not what I'm talking about today. What I am talking about, however, is I get a lot of emails from people asking, should I add this tweak, that tweak? And before I answer any of those questions, I always tell them, have you tried this with your existing system? Because what I'm trying to get at here is sometimes less is more. You have to understand that each component in your system, every component, any electrical device has its own internal distortion. I mean, just take this as an example. This is the what I'm recording with, the mic preamplifier and recorder that I have. This has its internal noise, and so does my microphone. So by adding something in between my mic preamp and my mic, for example, will introduce extra noise. Now, in a hi-fi system, it works the exact same way. Each component, whether it be an amplifier, a preamplifier, a DAC, whatever, has an internal noise. So if you add, an extra preamplifier, I don't know why you would do that, but if you add an extra preamplifier, for example, all you're doing is you're really doing more harm than good to your system. So Jay, does this mean that I shouldn't, have a preamplifier, an amplifier, a DAC? No. Again, those things are required for you to actually get sound out of your system. What I'm saying is people often ask me, should I get a tube buffer? Should I get a power conditioner or some sort that will perhaps improve the system? And I understand the urge to add stuff to your system that is relatively, doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot to add a tube buffer or a power conditioner. Whereas, changing your entire preamplifier or amplifier or speakers is a lot more work, it's a lot more headache. But that is the proven way to actually improve your system. Whereas actually adding tweaks like buffers and, power conditioners and stuff like that can sometimes do more harm than good. And this is where less is more comes into play. Now, I am not saying that tweaks are all bad and snake oil. No, I'm not saying any of those things. They can work. But before you go ahead and buy those tweaks and start fiddling around and thinking about, adding more stuff to your system, more boxes and more, stuff to your system, you should consider trying to optimize what you have. So for example, very proven way, easy way to do this is to adjust your speaker placement. Add an extra acoustic panel to your room if it requires one. Remember, room is almost everything when it comes to audio and stereo listening. Or if you want to really experience a drastic change, I know a lot of you guys have racks or stuff like that. Put your equipment on the floor. And I know some of you guys are gonna be, oh, the floor? You crazy? Put your gear on the floor and take out the rack so that there's nothing in between your speakers. try that. That will give you a much more drastic improvement or experience or change or whatever you're looking for than simply adding a tube buffer or a power conditioner or of some sort. Now I have two experiences just like this that I want to share with you to prove that this is not just coming out of my ass. When I was experimenting with multiple different audio systems, I had a good setup where I had everything. So this consisted of my JBLs, Magnepans, so I had different speakers, but the amplifier was a Sonic Frontier monoblock amplifiers, tube based, and the preamplifier was, I believe, Audible Illusion tube preamplifier. So I had fair stuff going. Now I wanted to experiment and see if I can kind of make things sound better. Now I was perfectly happy with the sound I was getting. It wasn't that. I just wanted to see if it can get better by adding something. So I bought a power conditioner, and it was a PS Audio power conditioner, and I hooked it directly to the amplifier. Now this did more harm than good, in the sense that the sound became thinner, and I really didn't like the improvement, if that's what you want to call it, that I was hearing. And the thing is, I really wanted to like it because I spent a lot of money on it, and it's something that I had. And in a few days I decided to sell it back onto the market because it just didn't do it for me. Now I love PS Audio products. I don't want to get in trouble with Paul. He's a great guy. I think their products are great. And granted, this was a older PS Audio power conditioner, and I generally don't like power conditioners to begin with, especially for amplifiers. For source and stuff like that, that's great, but that's another topic for another day. Now, another experience that I had was when I added a tube buffer to my system. And adding a cheap tube buffer to my system obviously did more harm than good. Now, this was not in the same system. This was in a more budget system. And I was trying to, it consisted of Shit Audio Bifrost or Gungnir, or I don't remember, but it was one of their DACs with with the Vidar and the Magnepans. And I wanted to kind of experiment and kind of get more tube sound out of this system. So I bought a cheap tube buffer and added to it. And no matter how much I tried to convince myself, it sounds tubier, it's a good upgrade for $100, $200. I just could not get myself to like what I was hearing, the change I was hearing. So don't be like me and buy a tube buffer or a power conditioner or anything extra into your system that is not part of your main core system, like a DAC, amplifier, streamer, whatever is required to get sound out of your system. That is what I'm talking about when I say main stuff. Don't add anything like me, for cheap and expect certain amount of change or do good to your system and regret it later. So think twice before you add anything to your system. If anything, less is more. And please remember, do your research before you purchase anything or upgrade. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If this video was helpful to you, then please consider subscribing and clicking that bell notification so that you don't miss the next one. And also consider supporting us on Patreon to support our honest videos. And I'll see you guys on the next one.